afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John.
I'm David.
And we're here from Intelligent Concrete to talk to you about some awesome stuff today.
Okay, sounds awesome.
I'm trying to do that because it's not awesome. It's actually really annoying. Yeah.
It's kind of non-awesome, yeah.
Okay, so here it is. The question I have, it's Q&A Wednesday on a Friday on Halloween. The question is to David. David, I need you to, not a question, it's more of a comment. So the comment is, and we give, David and I don't know, David, we work together.
We don't always agree, but we do work together.
We do work together. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's good that we don't agree, I agree.
We give presentations all over the world.
You bet.
David, what's the furthest you've been this year?
Hong Kong this year.
And furthest I've been this year is Perth, Australia.
Yeah, either New Zealand or
Right.
Australia, not sure which is farther.
I think Perth is.
Yeah.
And I got to put my feet in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, good for you.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And we get to talk about amazing concrete things, and we get a host of awesome questions from amazing concrete people.
Yeah, we get some really good questions.
And we get some really crap questions too.
Well, there's that. But same with concrete.
Same with concrete. One of the things that I've gotten is a slew of questions about what ASTM and what ASTM have you done? How come you didn't do this ASTM? Specifically when we're talking about a new technology, or CSA, EN, NT, whatever standard you're using from your part of the world. It seems to me that a lot of the folks in our industry, and I'm talking to you, engineer, contractor, owner, specifier, I don't care what part you're in, they hang their hat on, well, if you didn't do this ASTM, then I can't use your technology, and only if you did this ASTM. And I feel as if these folks in the industry are falling back on these ASTMs to try and call themselves risk management in the industry, when in reality they're more risk averse. And they're using these ASTMs to say no, when the harsh reality is they're risking something every day, especially if they're dealing with fly ashes that are subpar. Or if they're not using fly ashes at all because they're not getting the volumes. Or if they're using manufactured aggregates that are monopolizing paste and they're pissing up the concrete with water. So is it a fair statement to say that there are some folks in the industry who are using they haven't done the right ASTM as their way of getting out of saying yes to a new technology?
Well, they're definitely not saying yes, so so I guess in essence the answer is yes. I mean, they're using the ASTM to not say yes, but I mean, I can kind of see both sides. I mean, having sat in the witness chair for days at a time, hours after hour, if you've got that standard behind you, I mean, you've got some fortitude to what you've done, whether there was problems or not. And of course, if you're sitting in the witness chair, there were problems.
If you're sitting in the witness chair, there were problems, but the ASTM should not be your golden parachute.
I agree. I agree.
The ASTMs are only guides for evaluations, specifications, and standards to put us all on the same level playing field.
Yeah.
That's all an ASTM. Does not mean that it takes ownership off of responsibility.
Absolutely. I think that's the excellent point, is that, in the end, the engineer of record is the engineer that's responsible. And so if they've used compression strength and they got good values in the lab and they've got a sheet of paper with a stamp on it, and they go out in the field, it's a cold winter day, or it's a hot summer day, or it's this or it's that, or there's some problem.
Right.
Okay, C78 said, yeah, go ahead, it's perfect.
Right.
Do what you want to, everything's cool, but it isn't.
Right.
I mean, I like your phrase about labcrete versus fieldcrete. I mean, there's just changes, and
Right.
it's the engineer's responsibility to recognize those and keep the public safe.
Amen, amen.
And those 8 pages in the ASTM manual,
They don't point to that.
they're not the end-all, do-all.
Right, and using, when you are in the witness chair in that scenario, if you did the wrong thing for the mix, but hey, I use my ASTMs, that's not necessarily the golden parachute. That's not going to get you out of trouble.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. You know, in the end, it's, did you do the right thing when you were supposed to do the right thing?
And the other comment is, just because the ASTM doesn't exist, that doesn't give you the credence to be a coward. And that is pretty harsh to say.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of ASTMs. There's some ASTMs that disagree with other ASTMs.
There's some ASTMs that aren't worth the paper they were written on.
There's some ASTMs that are no longer appropriate. There's no question.
And there are some ASTMs that have not been written yet. And just because there isn't an ASTM doesn't mean you can't use the technology, especially if you're the PE. Especially if you're the ready mix provider.
Yeah, you know, concrete's a business.
Right.
You know, we have to do what's good for business. And civil engineers, civil comes from civics, which comes from the Latin for the public. So civil engineering is for the public. It's our job to protect the public, keep the public safe. And when I worked for the government, it was our responsibility as a taxpayer to not waste their money.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to just go hell for stout and say, I'm just going to
Click coupons and
I'm just going to make this so strong nothing can possibly happen.
Right.
And then of course you run into other problems too. So yeah, so I think that's right. We, you know, the ASTMs, we call them standards. They have been standardized through a voting process, so in that way they're standard. John, I know how you love this phrase. They're not the law.
they're not the law. They're not the law. I mean, and as the PE, you have that responsibility. I mean, you are the qualified person for that project. So if there's an ASTM that does not fit and you're using it, or if there's no ASTM for a technology that can help serve the public better, you have a responsibility as that qualified person.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, you know, the state law is pretty clear that you can only practice engineering in the area in which you are expert. So let's put it the other way. If you're an expert in an area, let's practice that engineering.
And there are some engineers out there who are very comfortable clipping coupons and not practicing engineering. To practice engineering is a very difficult and should be a scary thing. I wear the Order of the Engineer ring. It's a constant reminder to me that we always have to be on our toes. We always have to be striving for that, you know, better, more data equals better science, and also the increase in the efficiency and the accuracy of our data. We have been known to throw out entire sample sets because we weren't comfortable with the way it mixed, with something that happened in the sequencing, and we didn't even want to take the chance on erroneous data. And that is part of being an engineer, being the responsible party to say, hey, what we've been doing right now, it's just not working, we have to redo it. And I think, just to make a full circle, in our industry, we've gotten way too comfortable with, it's the law, and you can't go against the ASTM law. Whew, the next time I'm at a presentation, I hear somebody say that, I'm just gonna walk out. Oh, I probably won't, but anyway, so hopefully you learned something today. Let us know if you got any other questions, concerns about that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ding that bell for notifications. Go, go, go!
Yes, all.